The year is 1922, and the sun hangs heavy over the Valley of the Kings, casting long, wavering shadows over the dunes. The desert holds its breath. British archaeologist Howard Carter, gaunt from years of failure but burning with determination, stands before a sealed doorway hidden beneath centuries of shifting sand. Behind him, a small team of workers waits in nervous silence. The door is etched with hieroglyphs, faded by time but still legible. Carter runs his fingers across the ancient warning. Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the king's rest. The wind howls unexpectedly, a sharp, sudden gust, and with it comes a faint, almost imperceptible whisper in the desert air. Some say it spoke, most deny it, but none ever forget it. Unease builds. On the day the tomb is opened, Carter's canary, a cheerful symbol of good luck to the dig team, is found dead. Not just dead, but devoured by a cobra that slithered into its cage. The cobra, symbol of Egyptian royalty, protector of pharaohs, and now, an omen. The locals whisper that it was the Uraeus, the serpent of divine vengeance. Soon after, scorpions emerge from beneath tents and crates, stinging several workers. One man nearly dies from the venom. Egyptian laborers begin refusing to work after dark, claiming they hear chanting beneath the sands. Carter, a rationalist to the core, brushes off the events as coincidence. "The only thing cursed here is our luck with British funding," he mutters, half in jest. But his patron, Lord Carnarvon, is different. He's intrigued, even amused, by the notion of a curse. At a lavish dinner in Luxor that evening, as journalists and guests toast the find of the century, Carnarvon raises his glass and quips, "If this be the pharaoh's wrath, I say, let him come for me himself." The room laughs. That night, Carnarvon cuts himself shaving. A small nick on his cheek, trivial. He waves it off. But in the early morning hours, as Carter stands alone by the tomb's threshold, he hears it again. The same whispering wind. Only this time it speaks his name. Lord Carnarvon's wound, though small, has become red and inflamed. Fever sets in. A strange silence falls over the dig site as whispers spread faster than sandstorms. The curse has begun. Luxor, March 1923. Lord Carnarvon lies feverish in his suite at the Winter Palace Hotel, his skin pale and clammy, the once trivial cut on his cheek now red with infection. Doctors mutter about blood poisoning and mosquitoes, but none can explain the sudden, violent downturn in his health. His breathing grows shallow. His eyes dart about the room, not in confusion, but in fear. Outside, the Nile glows silver under a clouded moon. A power outage strikes the city. Street lamps flicker and go dark. The staff at the hotel scramble to find oil lamps. One servant swears he hears a scream come from Carnarvon's room, but when they arrive, all is still. Just before dawn, Carnarvon dies. Official reports list pneumonia as the cause. Yet in Cairo, over 300 miles away, his beloved dog Susie, back in England, lets out a piercing howl and collapses, dead, at the exact same time. Rumors ignite like wildfire. The newspapers seize on the story, hungry for the supernatural. "The curse claims its first victim," reads the front page of the Times. Egyptian workers nod solemnly. They warned Carter. The locals say Anubis walks again, guardian of the necropolis. Howard Carter remains publicly composed, but privately he's shaken. He visits the tomb again, walking alone down the descending stone corridor lined with murals of the afterlife. The air is heavy, not just with dust, but with something else. Carter coughs. For a brief second, he thinks he sees movement at the far end of the burial chamber, a figure in gold, tall and silent. But when he blinks, it's gone. Meanwhile, Lady Evelyn Herbert, Carnarvon's daughter and one of the first to enter the tomb, begins experiencing nightmares. She dreams of drowning in black water, a golden mask watching as she sinks. She tells no one. That week, a second death occurs. An American financier who briefly visited the site collapses aboard a ship crossing the Mediterranean. Cause: sudden heart failure. The legend begins to grow teeth. Back in England, spiritualists call upon the ghost of Lord Carnarvon. One medium, during a séance, scribbles wildly in trance. The message: he should not have opened the door. The king waits in silence. The blood debt has begun. At Carnarvon's funeral in England, the skies darken. A violent storm erupts, rain pelting the casket as if the heavens themselves rage. In the crowd, a stranger in black stands apart, unmoving. No one knows who he is. No one remembers him leaving. London, late 1923. In the smoky offices of the Daily Mail, a journalist flips through a stack of obituaries with growing unease. Names begin to repeat. Visitors to King Tut's tomb are dying. And not just prominent figures like Lord Carnarvon. A museum worker, a radiographer, an American tourist, a French archaeologist's assistant, all linked to the excavation, all dead within months. The headline is born that week: The Curse of the Pharaoh, Who's Next? Back in Egypt, the dig site is quieter. Carter has returned to work, but the energy is brittle. The workers, once spirited, move in silence. Some leave in the night without a word. Carter finds one of his foremen praying at the tomb's sealed door, murmuring in Arabic about the Book of the Dead walking again. Then, the discovery. A young Egyptian boy, tasked with organizing crates of translated papyri, uncovers an odd bundle tucked behind Carter's desk. Inside, a leather-bound notebook, unmarked, brittle with age. It's not Carter's. The handwriting is unfamiliar. On the first page, a heading written in thin red ink. Names of those who entered sacred ground. It's a list, around 26 names. Many are already crossed out. And beside some, dates. Death dates. All accurate. Carter is stunned. The list includes people he barely remembers, including one journalist who only brushed past the threshold. He's dead too. Then comes the twist. Near the bottom of the list is the name H. Carter. It's not crossed out. Paranoia deepens. Carter consults with a trusted colleague, Dr. Julian Liddell, a skeptical Oxford archaeologist. Liddell dismisses the idea of a cursed list, but agrees to help investigate its origin. He brings the notebook to Cairo's Antiquities Authority. A curator examines the ink and confirms it's modern, less than 2 years old. Who made the list and why? Meanwhile, another name is crossed off: Sir William Garstin, a retired diplomat who visited the tomb in its early days. He dies at home in his sleep of a brain hemorrhage. Back in London, a journalist anonymously receives a telegram. Stop printing names. He knows. He waits. They publish it anyway. Late one night, Carter wakes from a nightmare, cold sweat on his brow. He stumbles into his study to find the list lying open on his desk, with 2 new names added at the bottom in fresh ink. One is his. The other is someone he hasn't met yet. Cairo, 1924. The dim light of early morning spills into the laboratory of Dr. Archibald Douglas Reed, a respected radiologist called in to perform X-rays on the mummy of King Tutankhamun. His hands are steady, but his eyes betray a quiet apprehension. He has seen strange injuries before, but what he observes on the radiograph of the pharaoh's skull leaves him pale. A fracture at the base of the skull. Clean, deliberate. Post-mortem? Maybe, but maybe not. He writes a note to Howard Carter. There are signs that the boy king did not die naturally. The damage is inconsistent with embalming practices. This was violence. He never delivers it. 3 days later, Dr. Douglas Reed is found dead in his apartment. His body collapsed beside his desk, a glass of wine overturned at his feet. Official cause: acute aneurysm. But something is off. His lab notebooks are missing. The note to Carter is torn in half, stuffed into the radiator. Carter is unnerved. He receives only word of the death, not the details, and hears whispers that Egyptian authorities were the first to reach the apartment. Later that week, he visits Dr. Julian Liddell again in Cairo and confides in him. Liddell is skeptical until Carter shows him a duplicate X-ray image. The damage is clear.
Liddell: if this is real, then Tutankhamun was struck. Hard. Possibly from behind. This wasn't disease or accident. This was assassination. Suddenly, the story of a young, weak boy pharaoh who died mysteriously in his teens begins to twist. Was he murdered? By whom? And why? Meanwhile, a quiet force is moving. A man named Charles Winfield, a British intelligence officer with ties to colonial administration, visits Carter under the pretense of ensuring the safety of royal artifacts. But in private, he warns him, "There are many things in Egypt best left buried. The boy king's secrets are not yours to uncover." That night, Carter finds the lab where Douglas Reed worked ransacked. Film canisters are missing. But in a single drawer, overlooked, he finds a torn corner of a report. A drawing of the skull damage, with one word underlined twice: blunt force. The press remains ignorant. But one journalist, Margot Lestrange, who had corresponded with Douglas Reed, receives a letter days after his death. The envelope is unsigned. Inside, a note, a photo of the X-ray, and a single line: "The curse hides a crime." And the crime was royal. Lestrange contacts Carter for a private meeting. Before she arrives, a carriage crashes just outside the museum district. The driver survives. The passenger, Lestrange, is dead on impact. Inside her handbag, the photo is gone. Only the note remains. Late summer, 1924. The Valley of the Kings bakes under the relentless sun, but beneath the sand, the past begins to tremble. Howard Carter, haunted by unanswered deaths and increasing pressure from both the British authorities and the Egyptian government, returns to the tomb alone. But this time, he's not excavating. He's searching. Following clues from the fragments left by Dr. Douglas Reed and whispers from local villagers, Carter starts examining a narrow corridor off the burial chamber. It had always been assumed to be a storage alcove, but something is off. The hieroglyphs lining the walls are scratched over, defaced, a mark of shame. He finds a thin seam in the stone, a false wall. With trembling hands, he and his assistant pry it loose. Behind it, a sealed chamber filled with stagnant air and complete darkness. They step inside. No gold, no artifacts, just stone and silence, until Carter's lantern reveals it. A second sarcophagus, smaller, crude, and unadorned. On the wall above it, an inscription in ancient script, partially obscured by black resin, reads, "Here lies the betrayer. Let no man speak his name. Let no soul disturb his rest." The sarcophagus is empty. But in its base, Carter discovers a bundle wrapped in ancient linen, fragments of papyri, a ceremonial dagger, and a carved wooden plaque, its writing scratched out so violently the wood has splintered. Carter sends these to be translated by an old acquaintance, Professor Isa al-Masri, a scholar exiled from the Cairo Museum for promoting blasphemous theories about dynastic deception. Al-Masri's translation is chilling. A brother was judged and erased. His bloodline was made to vanish. But his soul cannot leave. The pact must hold. The order must guard. The papyri reference a priesthood not listed in any mainstream records, a shadow cult tasked with protecting the royal dead, but also punishing those who violated the cosmic balance. A balance that Carter may have shattered, and Carter is not the only one watching. That evening, his camp is raided. Not by thieves, but by men in black robes, faces covered, moving with ritual precision. They don't steal gold or relics. They steal the dagger and the plaque. One worker is found dead in the morning, throat slit, with a single hieroglyph painted in blood on his forehead. Silence. Carter reports nothing to the authorities. He buries the sealed chamber again, but he cannot unsee what he saw. Back in Cairo, Dr. Liddell is contacted by a mysterious woman, elderly, veiled, and speaking in riddles. She presents him with a scroll sealed in wax and says only, "The one they erased still waits." His name was taken, but his vengeance was not. Dr. Liddell, researching royal genealogies, cross-references burial records from the 18th dynasty. He finds a name, recorded once, then scratched out in all other records, and next to it, a notation he doesn't understand, written in red ink by a long-dead scribe. Twin born under the dark moon, sealed in sand, must not rise. Cambridge University, 1925. In the echoing halls of the Department of Egyptology, Professor Nathaniel Greaves, a brilliant but controversial scholar known for his obsession with dynastic cover-ups, receives an urgent package. It comes from Dr. Julian Liddell in Cairo. Inside, photographs of the newly uncovered scrolls, fragments of erased names, and one chilling phrase scrawled in ancient red ink. Twin, born under the dark moon. Greaves, intrigued and disturbed, begins to work feverishly. He compares the newly found symbols to obscure 18th dynasty records that were dismissed long ago, dismissed for being inconsistent with the official lineage. One anomaly keeps surfacing, a reference to a second royal child born on the same day as Tutankhamun, listed briefly in one burial ledger, and then scratched out so violently the papyrus had to be restored with fresh reed fibers. The name is always missing, but the title remains, He of the Left Path. Meanwhile, in Cairo, Carter and Liddell return to the sealed chamber. Though the dagger and plaque were stolen, they discover a loose stone beneath the empty sarcophagus. Beneath it lies a fragment of bone, scorched black, wrapped in burial linen. A symbol is branded onto the cloth, the Eye of Horus, but inverted, a sign of divine rebellion. They send the remains to a secret laboratory funded by private patrons sympathetic to Carter's quest. Within weeks, results return. DNA fragments, degraded but readable, match those of Tutankhamun. The truth is undeniable. The body was that of Tut's identical twin. But why was he erased from history? Professor Greaves proposes a chilling theory. The twin was cursed at birth, born under an eclipse, a sign of ill omen in ancient Theban astrology. Such children were believed to bring imbalance to Ma'at, the divine order. Some were drowned, others buried alive. But what if this one survived, hidden away, entombed, and sealed with a blood pact by priests sworn to keep his existence secret? Back in Egypt, Carter begins to notice he's being followed. A silent figure, cloaked, watching from rooftops. One evening, he finds a message carved into the door of his quarters. You disturb the balance. The twin still seeks. A new horror emerges. The fragment of bone, once removed from the sealed tomb, begins to decay unnaturally fast. It emits a strange black mold, not of any known species. Several lab workers fall ill with hallucinations, fever, and insomnia. One dreams of a golden mask with two faces. He dies raving about the one with no name. Professor Greaves deciphers the final glyph on the stolen plaque from Carter's sketch. It doesn't say protector of the dead, as they first thought. It says, imprisoned by light, released by breath. The name returns. And just as he speaks the phrase aloud, a gust of wind blows through his sealed study. Though no window is open, His oil lamp flickers and goes out.
Night has fallen over Luxor. The air is still, heavy with heat and unspoken dread. Howard Carter sits alone in his tent, poring over Professor Greaves's telegrams, fragments of translations, astrological omens, and the chilling conclusion. Tutankhamun had a twin, erased from the records not by time, but by design. The radio crackles with static. Carter reaches to turn it off, and just before the knob clicks, a whisper slips through the static. "He knows you now." He freezes. Meanwhile, in Cairo, Dr. Liddell examines a series of CT scans sent by the private lab. What they've discovered in the recovered bone fragment is unprecedented. The twins' heart was removed, but not embalmed. In fact, it was never found. According to the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, a soul could not enter the afterlife unless the heart was weighed. To be denied, it meant the soul would become a cursed spirit, bound to the mortal world in torment. The twin wasn't just erased, he was imprisoned. Flashback-style inserts begin to haunt the narrative, snippets of the past, not as flashbacks, but as visions experienced by Carter and Lady Evelyn Herbert, Carnarvon's daughter. Evelyn begins to suffer strange dreams again, but this time they aren't dreams. She wakes with sand in her sheets, hieroglyphs scratched into her mirror, and her voice hoarse from whispering in a language she doesn't speak. She draws a symbol she's never seen before, but Carter recognizes it instantly. It matches the inverted eye of Horus found in the sealed chamber. The paranoia intensifies. A Cairo museum curator drops dead mid-lecture. Cause of death? Cardiac arrest. His last words: "He had no face." That night, a royal amulet goes missing from the museum's Tutankhamun exhibit. Security footage shows the door opening by itself. No one enters, but the glass shatters from the inside. Back in Luxor, Carter consults an aged desert mystic named Sheikh Marwan, once a priest of a forgotten sect tied to the ancient cult of Anubis. Marwan listens silently, then offers Carter this. The twin was born beneath the black eclipse, his cry unheard, his heart denied. He became the broken Ka, not dead, not living, a mirror without reflection. To speak his name, Marwan warns, is to invite him. But you already have. The tomb was his mouth. You opened it. He is awake. Then comes the most horrifying discovery yet. In one of the crates containing burial wrappings from the tomb, Carter finds something the lab overlooked: a shriveled organ, sealed in an unmarked canopic jar, not listed in any inventory, not matched to any known embalming. Tests confirm it is a human heart, and it shares the same DNA as King Tut's remains. The twins' missing heart has been found, and the moment it is unsealed, everything begins to unravel. That night, Lady Evelyn disappears. Her room is torn apart, no sign of forced entry, no witnesses, just a single word burned into the tent canvas: brother. London, 1926. Rain lashes against the windows of the British Museum, where an exhibition of artifacts from Tutankhamun's tomb draws record crowds. Hushed voices marvel at golden statues, intricate jewelry, and the boy king's funerary mask. But behind the glass, one item is missing from the official manifest: a golden scarab brooch, recently unearthed and never logged by Carter's team. It was acquired privately, smuggled in by a collector named Reginald Voss, a former intelligence officer with connections to the black market of antiquities. He's found dead in his study 3 days later, slumped over his desk, a look of abject terror frozen on his face. Cause of death: undetermined. The only clue? A symbol burned into the wood beneath his hand, an inverted eye of Horus. Back in Egypt, Carter receives the news with growing horror. This brooch was among the relics once sealed with the twins' remains.
He thought it was lost in the raid. It wasn't. It had been sold. Now it is spreading the curse, like a virus. A pattern emerges. In Paris, a museum curator collapses after curating a Tutankhamun showcase. In Berlin, a historian who handled a papyrus from the sealed chamber begins speaking in ancient Egyptian in his sleep and dies from a mysterious fever within 48 hours. Dr. Liddell compiles the data and shares it with Professor Greaves in Cambridge. The deaths are connected by one detail. Each victim came into contact with an item that was never meant to leave the tomb. Items tied to the twins' burial, not Tutankhamun's. This isn't just Tut's curse. It's his brother's vengeance, awakening piece by piece. Lady Evelyn remains missing. Her disappearance is now international news. Carter is tormented by guilt. He realizes the recovered heart, now sealed in a lead-lined box in his tent, is more than an organ. It's a keystone. He begins to believe that once all the twins' parts are reunited, heart, name, soul, something irreversible will occur. Then, a chilling letter arrives. It's postmarked from Geneva, unsigned. Inside is a photograph, a grainy image of a private collection in Switzerland. On a pedestal, unmistakable, the missing golden brooch. Taped to the back of the photo, a note written in jagged script. He waits. He remembers. She is the offering. The curse now has a direction. It's not random. It's intentional. The episode shifts tone, no longer just mysterious, but terrifyingly methodical. The deaths are ritualistic, part of a reassembly, a resurrection. And the brooch? It's not just jewelry. It is an ancient seal, inscribed with a royal cartouche that doesn't belong to any known pharaoh. Greaves finally deciphers it. The name is new. The name is forbidden. The name is Tutankhamun, he who was denied the throne. In a private collection in Zurich, a security guard watches the golden brooch late one night. The lights flicker. The case shatters. The next morning, nothing is missing, except the guard. And scrawled across the walls of the gallery, written in ancient ink, just 3 words: the twin walks. Luxor, winter, 1926. Howard Carter is no longer the celebrated archaeologist. He's a haunted man. The once pristine camp is reduced to a skeleton crew. Journalists have pulled back. Officials won't return his calls. A string of unexplained deaths and vanishing relics has made the Tutankhamun excavation radioactive. But Carter stays. He knows something is unfinished. Not the excavation, but a reckoning. He spends nights locked in his tent, surrounded by maps, photographs, and fragments of translated texts. One night, while reorganizing crates of documents, he discovers a sealed leather case hidden behind a false panel in one of his own trunks. He didn't put it there. He opens it. Inside, his own diary. Or rather, a second diary, one he had forgotten he ever kept. The entries are sporadic, frantic. Some pages are missing, others are stained. But the handwriting is unmistakably his. The entries start in early 1923, after Carnarvon's death. There is a second tomb. I found it first, before Tut's. I lied. I sealed it again. It was not his. It was something older, angrier. Carter had made a discovery even before the world-changing moment of Tutankhamun's tomb. An adjacent burial, one he believed was unfinished, cursed, or simply too dangerous to reveal. He buried it in silence, hoping to forget. But it had been the twins' crypt all along, the very one he later rediscovered. They warned me. The workers, the hieroglyphs, even the dreams. But I couldn't stop. I needed Tut. I needed to matter. The diary spirals into guilt and fear. One final entry stands out, written in trembling hand, ink smudged. I took the heart. I hid it. I told no one. I sealed the mouth of the tomb. But it breathes again. I hear it whispering through the stones. I buried the truth with him. May it never surface. Just then, Liddell returns from Cairo, and he's not alone. He's brought with him a wax-sealed scroll, given to him in secret by the same veiled woman who delivered a message weeks prior. The scroll, when unfurled, contains a diagram of an unlisted crypt, a hidden shaft that runs beneath Tutankhamun's tomb, never recorded, never explored. At the bottom, the symbol of the broken car, the cursed soul. They follow the map. In the dead of night, Carter, Liddell, and 2 trusted workers descend into the crypt. It is unlike any they've seen. No decoration, no gold, just bare stone. Walls scored with claw marks. One worker turns back, the other doesn't make it out. At the center of the crypt lies a stone sarcophagus, unlike Tutankhamun's, bound with blackened chains. A sigil of Ra reversed is etched on the lid. This isn't a burial, it's a prison. As Carter runs his fingers over the seal, a faint vibration hums through the air. Dust falls from the ceiling. Liddell shines his lantern into a recess above the sarcophagus, revealing a golden inscription in ancient tongue, now translated, "He who disturbs the twin shall awaken the flame of Ra." And beneath it, scratched more recently into the stone, in English, "I tried to stop it. H.C." Beneath the Valley of the Kings, in a crypt untouched by archaeologists or time, Howard Carter and Dr. Julian Liddell stare down at the chained sarcophagus, the prison of Tutankhamun, the lost twin. The air is thick with dust and dread. Every instinct tells them to leave, but the seal is cracked. The tomb is breathing. Carter grips the recovered heart, still sealed in lead, the final piece. Liddell begs him to destroy it, but Carter hesitates. He's no longer sure if what they've awakened can be stopped. "If we destroy the heart," Carter whispers, "do we silence him? Or do we set him free?" Flashbacks unfold in fragments. Carter's first discovery of the twins' chamber in 1922. His decision to suppress it, to lie, to bury one tomb to glorify another. It was never about the curse. It was about legacy, and now the cost is being collected. Above ground, the sky over Luxor blackens. An unnatural eclipse begins to form, the second in recorded history, to mirror the one under which the twins were born. Across the world, strange events begin to unfold in museums housing Tutankhamun relics. Displays rattle, lights burst, artifacts leak salt water. In London, the golden brooch vanishes, returned somehow to Egypt. The pieces are being drawn together. In the crypt, the sarcophagus opens on its own. The lid slides aside with a thunderous groan, revealing no body, only bindings stained with blood and soot, and a single golden mask, 2-faced, one serene, the other twisted in agony. Suddenly, Carter collapses. He clutches his chest. Visions flood his mind. A boy buried alive, screaming beneath the earth. Priests chanting as the tomb is sealed, a ritual never completed. A soul trapped between realms, denied peace, and now possessing the one who woke him. Liddell grabs the lead box. The heart pulses once, then again. He realizes the heart isn't inert. It's alive. He doesn't want resurrection, Liddell gasps. He wants replacement. Tutankhamun doesn't seek rebirth. He seeks a host. Carter was always the target. By opening the tomb, by holding the heart, by speaking the name, he became the vessel. The crypt begins to quake. Sand pours from the ceiling. Flames erupt from sconces that had been cold for 3,000 years. The walls glow red, not painted, but bleeding. Liddell makes a final choice. He throws the lead box into the sarcophagus and slams the lid shut. He chains it closed with Carter's own archaeological tools, locking the heart and the spirit back inside. Carter lies still, smoke rising from his hands. His eyes are open, but they do not see. Months later, the Egyptian government officially seals the entire site.
Tourists are banned. Records are scrubbed. The second crypt is erased from maps. Dr. Liddell resigns from public life. In his final lecture at Oxford, he simply says, "Some truths must remain buried." Not for fear, but for balance. Cut to London, an anonymous auction of Egyptian artifacts. A gloved hand lifts a velvet cloth, revealing a two-faced golden mask. The auctioneer smiles. Lot 47, unknown origin, unlisted cartouche, starting bid, confidential. The curse of King Tut, fact or fiction? The answer was never either. It was both.